The personality, the psychological structure, and the personality, and the values, and the character of the president has an incredible impact on the White House, who's there, what their values are, and how they work together. And if you get sucked off into thinking that somehow institutions determine that, I just don't believe it. I think the personality of that guy is overriding in how he operates. That's my view from having watched Nixon and Ford. President Ford had an incredible personality. He was a man that was able to encounter all kinds of events in a fast sequence without, as far as I could ever see, one flicker of anxiety. And I guess what I'm saying is if he had a neurosis, I never saw it. One of the tragedies, I think, that we have in this country, and we've sort of touched on a lot of reasons for it, is that the kind of guys that strive to be president have neuroses. And not only do they have neuroses, they don't know what those neuroses are often. Because almost by definition, a guy running for the president can't have gone through analysis because he would have lost. And I think this personality aspect of the presidency is incredible. And I think, I said earlier, I thought President Ford's decisions were probably better than President Nixon's. And I think probably the key to that was not how we had the staff system working, but it was his personality and the fact that he lacked neuroses, and he was able to deal, I won't say totally objectively, because I don't think people are totally objective, but he was a hell of a lot more objective than the presidents that I've been able to watch in my adult life, when I sort of had an inkling of what was going on. And I'm of the view that President Nixon had his problems because of President Nixon. I don't think you can lay it off on Ehrlichman or Haldeman or Colson. Those guys didn't even have to be there. They were there because the president wanted them there, and they were doing pretty much, I think, what he wanted them to do. I think President Ford ran a presidency that was minus those things, and I'm not sure that he would have ever been elected president or ever run. And I'm not sure that people without those neurotic drives get there, and that's a hell of a problem in our society, I'm afraid. And I'm afraid it also applies to the Congress and to the Senate, because I think those people have the same problems. Now, next point. And I think that merits, if you all want to really study the presidency, I think you ought to take a good look at that one and get some psychiatrists in here on your staff rather than... I think the next point is that any sophisticated politician probably would have said the day President Ford took office that he never had a chance, and that there were too many chips stacked against him, that somehow there was no way that he could possibly win an election. And I knew a lot of people in the White House for months after he took office that didn't think he had a chance to win. And I think almost the miracle of the Ford presidency is that, given the burdens coming in, which Jim talked about in terms of the cycle, I mean, there was never time to learn the presidency. The staff that he brought with him didn't have time to learn the presidency. The Watergate legacy was incredible. The recession would have killed anybody off even without Watergate. And on and on and on and on. You could list 200 reasons why the guy didn't have a prayer. The miracle of it all was that he almost beat Carter. And I think that merits some study and some thought. And I think I have a lot of ideas on why that happened, but that is an important thing to look at and try to understand. How come a guy who didn't have a chance, or shouldn't have had a chance, almost won it?